Football, rising to glory as the strongest post player. Episode 41. Everton U18, sitting at home, was naturally not far behind, and in the subsequent game process, he consciously strengthened his attack, and the original overall excellent defensive line gradually became more and more loopholes over time. And this increasingly obvious loophole was undoubtedly equivalent to giving Li Qing the breakthrough space he needed. In the more than 10 days of vacation, Li Qing focused on the basic skills training under his feet, and the three skills, dribbling and ball control, that had not yet reached 70 values have increased significantly, and the highest growth is skill, from the original 65 to 69, dribbling from the original 69 to 70, ball control from the original 67 to the current 68. Such data can basically ensure that Li Qing can complete a high-quality breakthrough and a quick counterattack with the ball without purchasing a 5-star technology card. Everton's under-18 players' successive passes in midfield were cut off by the active Coyle, who followed a quick counterattack tactic developed by pre-match manager Neil Crutcherley to pass the ball towards the right flank of his attack. What? With the shouts of Liverpool U18 fans, Li Qing, wearing the number 28 shirt, ran at high speed against the right sideline, like a red lightning sweeping across the green stadium under the blue sky and white clouds, attracting the attention of the audience. Coyle's passing was not accurate, and Li Qing was fast enough to reach out and stop before the ball went out of the touchline, and then faced the sloppy defender with a simple and direct acceleration breakthrough to move on. Everton U18 central defender Richards, who returned to defense at high speed, saw Li Qing's ball and left his foot and chose to slide on the ground. In his mind, even if he fails to tackle the football, he must leave people where they are. As for whether he will get a red card, it is not something he should consider, it is a matter for the referee. However, he thinks a little too much. Li Qing's acceleration up to 89 can guarantee him a second acceleration in high-speed running. Note, the original two speeds were 85 and 87, and the two speed values can be increased with the limit of the leg muscles, and now they are 87 and 89. The onlookers were frightened by Richards' action and forgot to make a sound for a moment, and Neil Crutcherley, Gerrard and Mike Garrity all shrank their pupils, their faces full of anger and dissatisfaction. But in the next moment, their expressions became excited again, because Richards only shoveled a cloud of air. What followed was simple for a goal scorer who had scored 8 goals in 3 youth league games in the past, facing the goalkeeper who was attacking and scoring an empty goal to give Liverpool under-18s a 2-goal lead over Everton under-18s. Falling behind by less than 2 goals at halftime was simply unacceptable for the home team, and the offensive increased significantly after the game resumed, although many times strengthening the attack may not be equally rewarded. Li Qing's technique and tactics were used vividly in this game, and he scored 2 more goals in the first and second half and scored a hat-trick to help the team win 4-0 away from home. Some people have found that the top scorers list has changed amazingly after the 16 rounds of the English Youth Super League, and another Liverpool under-18 player has appeared in the top 10 of the overall scorer list. Li Qing, he is 6th in the overall scorers list, with 11 goals, and 4th in the Northern Zone goal scorers. At the front are Wolves under-18 player Jack Allen, Liverpool under-18 player Glenn McCauley, and Manchester City under-18 player Jadon Sancho. You must know that Li Qing contributed 11 goals in 4 games. To be precise, it should be 3 games plus 7 minutes. Such a goal efficiency can be said to be amazing. By the U18 stage, the goal difficulty factor can be much higher than in the U15, U16 age group or below. It is in this context that the achievements have instantly attracted great attention. Of course, this attention is also limited to the media that focuses on the English Youth Academy and the European Youth Academy. After all, fans prefer to pay attention to the higher-level senior team top flight. Li Qing, who rarely paid attention to U18 news reports, held his mobile phone and muttered, "Just reached the 6th place in the overall scorer list. Hey! Top-ranked Chelsea under-18 player Taylor Crossdale has only scored 16 goals? Is it possible to try to hit the top scorer in a limited match?" As he spoke, a confident smile rose at the corner of his mouth. The first match of the First English Youth Premier League in 2017 ended, marking the countdown to the 2016 to 2017 FA Youth Cup. Every manager who has reached the last 32 has focused on the opponent they are about to face, and Manchester City under-18 manager Lee Casley is a headache, with the former Everton player feeling increasing pressure. If it was the Liverpool under-18 team at the beginning of the season, it was not easy to deal with. The problem is that this team has become much stronger with the addition of talented striker Li Qing from the under-15 U16 echelon, contributing 11 goals in 4 games, infinitely close to averaging hat-tricks per game. Such an efficient striker is a sharp blade in front of any team's defensive throat, and it is extremely uncomfortable. The personal technical characteristics in front of you are so many that they feel difficult to suppress. Even if the individual offensive breakthrough ability is strong, the scoring ability is also super strong, and what is more perverted is that there is a precise long pass. The first 2 points are still relatively easy to limit. The question is how to limit long passes. Defensive players generally take distance and 2 defensive 1, and sometimes even 3 defensive 1, but with too many defensive players defending ball-carrying players and nearby offensive receivers, then the far-end defense has no time to take care of it. After all, the manpower is limited. Damn it. It was not until 2 days before the start of the game that Manchester City U18 coach Li Qing suddenly woke up. The 1/16th final is the home of the team, and the team has Foden, Sancho, Diaz, and other young talents who are not inferior to Li Qing. Why consider more defense at home? Is it bad to win the game at home with a devastating attack? Episode 42. The focus of the 2016 to 2017 FA Youth Cup 1/16 final was only one game, and last season's FA Youth Cup runners-up Manchester City under-18 hosted Liverpool under-18, a powerful conversation that attracted a large number of English fans. Although the Youth FA Cup cannot be compared with the FA Adult Cup and the Premier League, the main purpose of this event is to train young players, and young players are the future hope of the country. Manchester City U18 twin stars Sancho and Foden became famous at a young age. Liverpool U18 Chinese Li Qing has performed vigorously recently, plus the Hope star Brewster. How can people not pay attention to such a game? The FA Youth Cup time is staggered with the Premier League time, giving fans, media, and coaches time to pay attention to the game. Li Qing has been a continuous devil, and Gerrard has recommended that Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp is ready to watch live in his office after the afternoon training session. Manchester City's Youth Academy 3 Sancho, Foden, and Diaz are famous, and first-team manager Pep Guardiola has heard about it for a long time, and is also interested in the under-18 and Liverpool under-18 games. In the near future, the first team will need U18 or U23 transfusions. On the night before the game, Li Qing switched out of the system with his mind and remembered that it had been some days since he completed the second stage of goal. So he entered the task section to watch the progress of the third stage of the task, 993 of 1000. In other words, there are only 7 goals left in the goal task in the final stage. This gives him more confidence in tomorrow's game. Mission rewards include 10 ability points, 100 gold, and an additional talent lottery. Regardless of what the talent lottery draws, 10 ability points can definitely relieve the huge pressure brought by tomorrow's focus battle. 2 hours after the real time, Li Qing finally heard a prompt from the system. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing the final third stage of goal mission, which rewards 10 ability points, 100 gold coins, and talent lottery. As in the past, he first conducted a talent lottery. As soon as the lottery wheel appeared in the levitation light curtain, he couldn't wait to start. About 10 seconds later, the system prompt sounded, ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the talent, diving. Li Qing, talent, diving, active fall to the ground after physical contact increases the chance of the referee blowing a defensive foul. Looking at this chicken rib talent, Li Qing is really unable to complain in his heart, but then again, everything has two sides. This talent can increase the chance of his active fall to the ground after contact with the opposing defender and the referee blows a defensive foul. Talk is better than nothing. Falling in the box at a critical time may increase the chance of his side getting a penalty. Of course, as the future top superstar of world football in the 21st century, it is natural that he does not disdain to cheat penalties in this way, unless I can't bear it after the body is violated. Talent draws a chicken rib talent, and the addition of 10 ability points becomes particularly important. Exactly where to add it, he was a little hesitant. Skill, dribbling, ball control, long-range shots and shooting power are all attributes that are eager to increase, and if the rain and dew are even, the effect will certainly not be noticeable. The embodiment of skills is the basic skills are solid. The higher the skill, the more pleasing to the eye. Using superb foot techniques during the game, any action is easy to do. Dribbling reflects the ability to change direction or fancy movements on the ball under the feet during the dribbling process. And the ball control is more about the control of the ball when the opponent interferes with the ball during the process of holding the ball. Long-range shots and shooting power are best understood, but with his current failing double values, adding a drop has no effect, so he chose to add tricks and dribbles around 70. After nearly half an hour of struggle, he finally decided to add the ability value to skill and dribbling, which in his opinion are the attributes that can help the most in the next game, and they can also complement each other. 8 points are added to the skill and 2 points are added to the dribbling to bring them to 77 and 72 respectively. In this way, the game will have a higher guarantee of breaking through with the ball at high speed without using a 5-star technology card. The two teams played at 5 p.m. British time. Because Liverpool and Manchester are very close, only more than 50 kilometers, the two places are convenient. Liverpool U18 team departed at 10 a.m. that day, just in Manchester local lunch. Li Qing arrived in Manchester with the team. Of course, he used WeChat to text Tong Shinbing for the first time. Hey cousin, I'm in Manchester, do you miss me? Think of me, come to Manchester City Football Academy at 4 p.m. this afternoon to see me show my might. After a while, Tong Shinbing replied to 2 WeChats in a row. See if you are abused? Certain, You liar, it's obviously 5 o'clock in the afternoon. How could your future boyfriend be abused? See how I led my team to the last 16, on the road. Hey. I just want you to see more of my heroic posture. Tong Shinbing returned a roll of his eyes and 2 words, virtue. Little ones, put away your phones for me and come to the restaurant to gather. Coach Mike Goretti's voice came. Li Qing replied casually, put away his mobile phone, and went to lunch with everyone. Manchester City U18 can be said to be the strongest opponent Li Qing has encountered in this world. The opponents he has encountered in the U15 U16 tournament and the National Youth Football Super League are not very strong, and there is no game that makes him feel helpless. I wonder if this game will have it. Manchester City's Youth Academy 3 Masters are famous in England. After he crossed the highly parallel time and space before Sancho was the most expensive 0-0, Diaz switched to Real Madrid in order to seek an opportunity to play. Only Foden's original intention remains unchanged, thinking of getting a chance to play under Guardiola. As for the situation behind is unknown, but it is certain that Manchester City's Youth Training 3 Masters are really strong. With the current strength of Liverpool's U18 backline, it is estimated that it will be difficult to prevent. This season's National Youth Super League Liverpool under-18s have suffered a 7-0 defeat away and have no way to fight back, and it is precisely because of this that he has noticed that most of the media is optimistic about Manchester City's under-18s. Thinking of this, Li Qing subconsciously clenched his fists. Manchester City, you are strong. I want to assist and score. Episode 43. The weather in England in January was still cold, only a few degrees, and players from both sides wore heavy down jackets at first, warmed up until they were fully warm. With an hour to go before the start of the game, almost all the media reporters who followed the youth academy were in place, and their cameras were all aimed at Manchester City's academy triad, followed by Liverpool's top scorer Glenn McAuley and number 2 goal scorer Li Qing. The focus of local journalists was on Sancho, Foden, Li Qing and Brewster, and according to their thinking, the player who decided the outcome of the game should be the English player. Neil Cretcherley and Lee Casley, 2 head coaches, looked at the warm-up players and knew that for them, everything that needed to be done had been done, and in which direction the game was going, it depended on the players. Neil Cretcherley is looking at Li Qing. In his opinion, if Liverpool U18 wants to go further, Li Qing needs to continue his previous league performance. Lee Casley's gaze swept over Sancho, Foden, Diaz, Mecca, and if it weren't for Nick Gonzalez, who Pep Guardiola personally recruited from La Masia, was injured and unable to play, the attacking lineup for this match would have been more luxurious. But he firmly believes that even without Nick Gonzalez can rely on this luxurious lineup to beat Liverpool U18 and advance to the last 16. During the handshake session between the players on both sides, Li Qing couldn't help but look at Sancho, Foden and Diaz, the 3 masters of Manchester City's youth academy. Foden and Diaz are relatively handsome, but Sancho is a little precocious, but they are very polite. The Youth FA Cup is under the same care as the National Youth Super League, and the matches are broadcast live, but compared to professional matches, the live broadcast of the FA Youth Cup is only available from the official start of the game. Beep. With a long whistle from the referee, the 2016-2017 English FA Youth Cup 1/16 of Manchester City under-18 and Liverpool under-18 was officially announced. Manchester City's under-18s were quick to take advantage of the kickoff, and fortunately Neil Cretcherley was targeted before the game, and the attacking quartet of Sancho, Foden, Diaz, and Mecca did not show the power it deserved. Li Qing was not assigned too many defensive tasks before the game. His task was mainly to catch counterattacks, and the defense was more about appearance. With Liverpool's under-18s doing a lot of work on defense before the game, Foden, who was good at organizing attacks in the midfield, was frozen, and Sancho needed serious lack of speed space, resulting in Mecca at the front without effective support. Diaz from Spain is the only Manchester City under-18 player on track, with extremely delicate foot technique and very high dribbling accuracy, which is difficult to break unless 3 players defend. The first shot came from distance after Sancho broke through on the right flank, but unfortunately did not hit the goal. In the minutes that followed, Manchester City's under-18s tried to shoot from distance outside the box after realizing that penetration in the middle could not open the situation, but the shooting percentage was a little low. Even if he hits the goal by chance, he will be saved by the quick-acting Grabala. Overall, in the first 10 minutes of the opening game, Manchester City's under-18 attack was thunderous and rainy, and Manchester City fans watching the game from the sidelines shook their heads repeatedly. Manchester City under-18 manager Lee Casley frowned, and the failure to score goals in successive attacks was a huge danger for the defense. Liverpool U18's most threatening Li Qing is at the front like a dagger against the throat. As long as there is a wind and grass, it is possible to deliver a throat-sealing blow. In the 19th minute, Foden, who was good at finding space, took an oblique long pass to find Mecca. The 2 passed in unison, and the football also bypassed the head of central defender Masterson, but goalkeeper Grabara expanded the defensive area. He jumped high and held Foden's diagonal long pass firmly in the palm of his hand. Grabala did not control the rhythm as he had in the previous few minutes, but suddenly with an arrow step, the right hand that was clutching the football used inertia to throw the football fiercely. Looking at the football in the air, Manchester City under-18 manager Lee Casley suddenly realized something. and there was a faint uneasiness in his heart. Grabella's vigorous hand throwing the ball is definitely not aimless, but looking for Li Qing. Most of Li Qing's 11 goals in 4 games were scored through long-distance attacks, and Li Qing, as head coach, studied it particularly thoroughly, and did not need him to shout deliberately, and the players on the field quickly pounced, hopefully defensively. Sometimes, though, the more you worry about something, the more things will happen. Previously, the team had a half-court offensive drill posture. The central defenders overwhelmed the half, the fullbacks almost acted as wingers. Li Qing had talent at a glance, and he could see the goalkeeper from afar, a few seconds ahead of the defenders. In a fast-changing football game, a goal can be scored in seconds. Central defender T. Wilson can play left back and central back, and his speed in this game is largely to effectively curb Li Qing's speed. Li Qing's vision is wide, his eyes light up during the run, and he uses the inside of the instep of his left foot to lead the football to the right front, that is, the direction of the right sideline, so that the football is away from Tyreek Wilson, who is coming from the middle speed. Next, naturally, acceleration. The 2 powerful legs quickly alternated the ground, and it only took him a second to increase his speed to an incredible stage. T. Wilson realized that it was a stupid decision to fight with Li Qing, and he decisively chose to hit someone and foul. Unexpectedly, the seemingly thin Li Qing was not knocked down. He stumbled to stabilize his figure, but T. Wilson, who took the initiative to hit people, was hit by a huge reaction force and fell to the ground. J. Giovanni, another central defender who had already slowed down, cursed secretly and had to grit his teeth again. But it's already too late. Li Qing, who gradually stabilized his figure, accelerated again, quickly crossed the center line with the football, and killed diagonally in the direction of the penalty area. Goalkeeper A. Muric watched as central defender J. Giovanni was getting farther and farther away from Li Qing. He sighed and dropped the goal. However, at this moment, Li Qing picked up his left foot, and the inside of his instep quickly kicked towards the bottom of the football. A bald middle-aged man standing in the northeast corner of the court looked at Li Qing's shooting action and blurted out, "Hanging shot?" Episode 44. Manchester City under-18 goalkeeper A. Muric abandoned the goal, and Li Qing, who had an extremely wide vision, moved in his heart. This time he did not choose the usual plate goalkeeper, but chose an unusually dashing and extremely testing footwork. The shot was about 30 meters from the goal, and A. Muric suddenly stopped and quickly retreated, and when he retreated to the penalty spot, he bent his knees and took off, thrusting up his waist and abdomen, trying to extend his raised right arm a little higher. Unfortunately, the falling football was just a few centimeters higher than his extended fingertips, and it was these few centimeters that made him desperate. It would be great if the height could be a little taller. Li Qing, who finished the shooting action, did not look at the football again. He turned coquettishly, raised his right arm, extended his index finger, and announced his first goal of the game to the world. Manchester City U18 manager Li Qing looked at the fingertips of A. Muric's raised right arm, his hand subconsciously crossed his waist, and said in his heart, "Is this still the Liverpool U18 team that was used to 7 goals by Manchester City U18 at the beginning of the season?" Boom. A crisp sound sounded in the heavens and the earth without warning. Manchester City fans felt that God was present with them at this moment, and the tense emotions were instantly released, and Manchester City under-18 manager Li Qing with his hands crossed at the waist was happy. Liverpool U18 manager Nick Richarley and assistants Gerrard and Mike Garrity are twitching the corners of their mouths, and the celebration moves have been made for most of the time. "You give me this?" All of them were depressed, and at the same time they couldn't help but think, "Can't you be obscene? Have to kick a very ornamental hanging door? Goals are king. This is good." The once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to break the goal is so missed. Li Qing's strength in the long pass is only inferior to Gerrard. The accuracy is blue, with the lower edge of the beam as a reference. He naturally will not have accidents without any pressure, and the football kicked out by the backspin long pass kick hits the lower edge of the beam and still maintains a forward posture. Hey! Between the electric flint, someone found that the situation was wrong. The football that fell to the ground stepped over the goal line, and then bounced up again, hitting the snow-white goal to surf the net. This, Manchester City under-18 manager Li Qing's aftermath smile froze on his face. Neil Crusherly, Gerrard and Mike Garrity, who had previously complained about Li Qing Thai waves, reacted with a fast, excited look overflowing, and their excited and exaggerated body movements were constantly displayed at the City College Stadium. Li Qing, who scored the goal, secretly touched the sweat stains on his forehead, and turned around to celebrate after completing the shot. It was too confident. Fortunately, the football flew according to the established route, otherwise that handsome face was about to be snapped red. Liverpool U18 players who have been defending for nearly 20 minutes in a row have an emotional outburst. And what is the purpose of leaving only Li Qing to attack in full defense? Not yet to score goals? Now to open the record as a guest, it is natural to celebrate. Except for goalkeeper Grabera standing in front of the goal to celebrate the goal, the other 9 players all rushed to Li Qing, who raised his arms, including Glenn McCauley, who had previously been prejudiced against Li Qing. The 0-7 defeat at the beginning of the season put them under a lot of pressure before this game, and now Li Qing opened the scoring with a very confident and morale-boosting shot, which felt great. At the same time, Klopp, who watched live TV, couldn't help but frown when he saw Li Qing choose to hang in a single knife situation. As an experienced coach, he would like to see players choose a more secure way. Looking back confidently after finishing a shot, celebrate in advance? Unless you can score, it's all bells and whistles. However, in the end, there was no danger, and the bells and whistles of the odds finally scored and helped Liverpool under-18s open the scoring away from home. Looking at Li Qing given in the picture, Klopp's eyes have obvious appreciation. As a young player who has not yet reached the age of 16, being able to choose an ornamental hanging shot under such a high-pressure situation is in itself a self-affirmation. Self-confidence is a quality that professional players must have. Although hanging shots are not a safe way to deal with them, it is important that players are confident enough to score goals. Professional football, the most important thing is the result. Plus Li Qing in the picture is not yet 16 years old, and in the future, you can also dig into the potential. Manchester City's under-18 stars Jadon Sancho, Foden, Diaz, and Mecca looked at each other, not expecting that the opponent could score with just one quick counter-attack, and it would be a little disappointing to score in this way. This feeling is like you have not received a reward for your great efforts, while competitors have received huge rewards through just one ordinary attempt. And this huge gap feeling is a little difficult to accept in a short time. That's when the manager's role is reflected, with Lee Cash using applause to cheer up the players and remind them that they are the best youth team in all of England. Manchester City is currently one of the best clubs in the entire English Youth Academy. The players in the team are the pride of the sky, whether it is the League or the FA Youth Cup this season, have not tasted defeat. The third round of the league home 7-goal victory over Liverpool U18 is like yesterday. How can you easily admit defeat? Race. It's only 20 minutes to start. It's only a matter of time before you win the game. Li Qing's hanging goal helped Liverpool under-18 open the scoring while also upsetting the balance of the game, and the home team that were behind the score began to put more pressure on them to try to equalize in a short period of time. As a result, Liverpool's U18 penalty area is full of dangers, and if it were not for the formidability of goalkeeper Grabala, Manchester City's under-18 would have equalized. The pressure brought by continuous defense can be superimposed, and in the 26th minute, Sancho used his speed to break through John Stone to send a precise inverted triangle, and Mecca, who was at the front, shook a shot at the front point, deceived all defenders, and the following Foden sealed his throat with a sword in the middle to help Manchester City U18 equalize. Just 2 minutes after the Liverpool under-18s could come to their senses, the game resumed, and Jadon Sancho, who had previously provided an assist, used a low shot from the right side of the box to help his team win the score. Episode 45. With a goal and an assist in just 3 minutes, Sancho looked so excited that the onlookers shouted Sancho, Sancho, Sancho in waves, as if they were seeing the one-sided massacre of the third round of the Youth Super League repeated. The shouts resounded throughout the City College Stadium, and as the one to be embraced, Sancho clearly enjoyed it. Back at halftime, he consciously looked at Li Qing, who helped Liverpool under-18 open the scoring and made a shoulder shrug motion. Li Qing felt a little speechless at Sancho's provocative actions. Didn't he contribute a goal and an assist? It was less than 30 minutes into the game and I had time to equalize and overcome. But it is depressing that in this case, passive tasks are not stimulated, otherwise the motivation is even greater. The on-site photographer in charge of debugging the picture caught this very allegorical picture, and then gave Li Qing a close-up shot pushed to the face. Klopp looked at Li Qing, who broadcast the picture, and had expectations. There is still enough time for the game. If you can give me enough surprises, maybe I will consider temporarily moving you up to the first team. Tong Shenbing, who was standing with a few Liverpool fans watching the game, stared at the frowning Li Qing and chose to cheer silently. The game resumed. Liverpool U18, who had the advantage of kick-off, did not create too threatening an attack, and it did not take long for possession to change hands, and Manchester City under-18s at home once again took control of the game. Li Qing had the intention to help the team equalize, but his teammate was blinded by Manchester City's U18 goals in a row, and he took the initiative to make a mistake just after a few passes from the kick-off. Of course, he didn't blame his teammates. The shadow left by the fiasco at this stadium 4 months ago is too great, and it was quickly overtaken after the lead. Where can you react? Actively assisting the defense is likely not to reduce the overall pressure, but will also bring huge hidden dangers. According to his understanding, only swimming around Manchester City's under-18 defenders will bring maximum pressure relief to defensive teammates. Manchester City's U18 two fullbacks take turns to step forward to participate in the attack, and the central defenders are not afraid to go forward to participate in the attack, which is equivalent to saying that there are 3 defenders on guard against Li Qing, 9 people defending 7. It is still relatively easy to defend. The defense gradually stabilized over time as Li Qing imagined, and Manchester City's under-18 attack returned to thunder and rain. Liverpool U18s are not only defensive and not attacking, they still completed 2 shots under the leadership of Li Qing in the limited number of attacks, but they followed up the ball without a chance. Manchester City's under-18 defenders are smart enough to know that they failed the first time in the process of switching from attack to defense, so that Li Qing can only bring the football back, so that the best defensive opportunity disappears. After a period of fast-paced attack, Manchester City's U18 slowed down, and Liverpool's under-18 got a rare respite, and the attacking opportunities gradually became more. Li Qing knew that this was intentional action by Manchester City's U18, in order to fight back against the side. Sancho and Mecca are incredibly fast, and both Diaz and Foden have strong possession and passing skills, and are likely to extend the score whenever they have the right opportunity. Thinking of this, Li Qing slapped his forehead sharply. Why do I want to do so much? Score a goal and you're done. All the attention is on the goal, and then there is a clearer idea of the goal. After a few kicks, the football came to Li Qing's feet, and the attention of Manchester City's U18 defenders was instantly focused on him, and they did not dare to snub. Although the first goal conceded was a lot of chance, the next offensive opportunities for Liverpool's U18 were created by Li Qing, so that they had to pay attention. Li Qing faced 2 defensive players playing flower work continuously under their feet constantly dangling above the football, and neither of the 2 defensive players dared to take the initiative to step forward, for fear that the space behind them would be used. At this moment, Li Qing suddenly used the instep of his left foot to push the football outward and directly make a long pass. No one expected that Li Qing, who had always chosen to break through personally, would suddenly pass long, so he did not take precautions. The football quickly flew to the box. The landing point was very exquisite, just bypassing the head of the Manchester City U18 central defender T. Wilson. Goalkeeper A. Muric was difficult to attack, but unfortunately Glenn McAuley reacted a little slower by half a beat, and by the time he realized that the pass was looking for himself, it was a little late, and the weight of his forehead rubbed was too thin, causing the top ball to be too far off the goal post. Glenn McAuley, who missed the perfect opportunity, clasped his head in his hands and felt chagrin. Li Qing shook his head. His tacit understanding with Glenn McAuley was too bad. Seemingly, you still have to rely on yourself before Brewster comes up. Manchester City under-18 manager Lee Casley raised his eyebrows slightly. He remembered that Li Qing's highlights had such a precise oblique long pass to find a teammate at the far end or a teammate in the box. This, not by accident. If the next game continues to defend more and less, it will inevitably cause a serious shortage of defenders in the box, and it will be troublesome if Li Qing passes this kind of high-quality pass again. So, he took advantage of the dead ball opportunity to make a gesture to signal that the players no longer had to focus on defending Li Qing. Li Qing is far enough away from the goal that breaking through into the box requires breaking through several players to defend. After all, not every left-footed player has Messi's technique. According to the quality of the pass just now, the pass is more threatening. The live broadcaster gave Liverpool U18 the closest defensive slow-motion replay to a goal, and Klopp, who was sitting in his office watching the game live, couldn't help but praise. The quality of this ball pass is really high. If the striker can make a prediction earlier, even if it is half a second, this ball is estimated to be there. But unfortunately, episode 46, the game passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it came to the end of the first half. Li Qing not only sent a precise oblique long pass that almost assisted Glenn McAuley, but also sent a series of extremely high-quality long passes, bringing a new change to Liverpool's U18 attack. In this way, Manchester City under-18 coach Lee Casley is more determined to ask players to restrict Li Qing's passing and strengthen defense in the box, and strive to cut off Li Qing's connection with his teammates, so as to ensure the safety of A. Muric guarding the goal. At the end of the 45 minutes of regular time, the fourth official held up his electronic card for 1 minute of injury time, which meant that the last minute of the first half of the game was left. Foden's penetrating pass found striker Emeka, who failed to serve with Masterson's close interference, and the ball was easily picked up by goalkeeper Grabera. Sancho and Diaz have a strong sense of counter-attack. The first time to pounce, Grabera, who wanted to kick off with a big foot, had to choose to bypass, and it was this bypass. Liverpool U18 lost the best counter-attack opportunity and instead pushed forward layer by layer. Li Qing's figure froze and slowly ran back, and Glenn McAuley ran forward according to the tactics between the 2 central defenders of the opposing team. Manchester City under-18 fullback Radibadier followed behind Li Qing. Liverpool under-18 right-back Harvey White clings to the touchline and Diaz's card is in the defensive ribs. The players on both sides stood in position, and Jordan Hunter, who was holding the ball, crossed the halfway line and passed the ball to Li Qing, who was returning without too many passing targets. Radibadier quickly clings to Li Qing, trying not to give him the opportunity to face the attack head-on. Who knew that Li Qing, who seemed to be receiving the ball, suddenly opened his legs, gave up the football, and then quickly closed to the right side of Radibadier's body to complete a 90-degree turn. Radibadier saw the football rolling. He subconsciously stretched out his foot to block, but the ball did not stop, and let Li Qing close to himself to complete the turn. Xavi White kept passing the ball and the ball rolled against the turf to the empty space behind Radibadir, who Diaz joined Deli Bashiru in the middle to fill in the space left by left-back Radibadir. Li Qing accelerated to meet the ball, had a cross with Harvey White, and ran from the ribs to the right with the football to close the distance between him and Bashiru and Diaz. The arch of the right foot rushes forward against the ball rolling forward, accelerating. Bashiru and Diaz immediately realized what Li Qing was going to do, but their speed was limited and their space distance from each other was far away, so they could only passively choose to run in a straight line to block Li Qing's inner cutting angle. At a critical juncture, they remember that the coach said that Li Qing is a left-hander, and sooner or later he will switch back to his left foot and go to the inside line under the right side. Liverpool's U18 attack speed was thus raised by Li Qing, and the central midfielders ran forward without sparing any effort. The end of this attack is likely to enter the intermission. Liverpool U18 players are sparing no effort to run, suddenly put Manchester City U18 defenders under great pressure. Standing in the dugout, manager Lee Casley suddenly felt a wisp of unease. The middle was in crisis, and Diaz signaled his teammate Bashiru to take care of the middle during the chase, and he could defend Li Qing alone. Neil Critcherley looked at Li Qing, who accelerated to the extreme, completely like a red Ferrari stepping on the accelerator to the bottom, towards the bottom line. Diaz's speed is not as fast as Li Qing, but the position selection is smart, stuck in the necessary route of Li Qing's inner cut. The distance between them is getting closer and closer. Li Qing's speed has decreased slightly, and in the face of Diaz, he chooses to accelerate in disguise, accelerates from the outside, uses the speed to eat Diaz raw, and enters the restricted area from the outside. Bashiru ran back with all his might, only to see Li Qing pick up his right foot. Bashiru thought that Li Qing was going to cross the middle of the road. He fell to the ground and put a tackle during the run, and Li Qing's right foot stopped the football in place. Yu Guang saw Diaz pounce again. He moved smartly, his left toe gently poked the football, and the football rolled under the crotch of Diaz, who was hastily defended, and the whole action was completed in one go, and the body crossed with Diaz, who could not stop the car. Li Qing solemnly stretched his left foot, and the outside instep jerked the ball to the left, just avoiding the central defender T. Weilerson's attempt to solve the siege. Between the electric flint, the Manchester City U18 penalty area instantly became so loud that the onlookers forgot to make a sound and chose to look at the players on both sides in the box stunned. Li Qing stepped forward with his left foot and stuck his body in Foden's return defense route, and the latter subconsciously stopped sharply in place, for fear of knocking over the other party. Li Qing, who has the talent, diving, has the idea of falling forward between the electric flint, but thinking that it is not himself who takes the penalty, he pouts his butt back, carries Foden, who can't stop the car, quickly raises his left foot and kicks the football. Manchester City U18 goalkeeper Embarks saw the football out of the crack, quickly rolled to the far corner of the goal against the grass, and his right foot that had lowered his center of gravity pressed the ground, and the huge reaction force generated between the sole of the foot and the ground made the body like a spring squeezed to the extreme, and he swooped and threw himself out. Damn it! Embarks looked at the football a few centimeters away from his fingertips, and his eyes were full of despair. Li Qing saw the football close to the far goal post and stepped over the goal line, excitedly opened his arms, and rushed to the visiting coach's dugout. Behind him is a group of teammates who can't help themselves. The bald middle-aged man in the northeast corner shook his head. The Manchester City U18 player in the sky blue shirt has done his best, but Li Qing, who is wearing a red shirt, is really a demon, like a butterfly in the box, and the last shot is calm enough, and it becomes logical to lose the ball. Klopp, who was sitting in front of the TV, was driven by Li Qing's humanistic goal, shouted excitedly, looked at the immature face given by the broadcast screen, and had an idea in his heart. Is it really not 16 yet? It's so devilish. Episode 47. The referee on duty quickly blew the whistle after signaling that the goal was valid, which also meant that the first half of the 2016 to 2017 FA Youth Cup 1/16 final between Manchester City under-18 and Liverpool under-18 was over. The live broadcaster turned the camera on Li Qing, so that the fans watching the live broadcast of the game in front of the TV recognized him, this person. It was the player who single-handedly helped Liverpool U18 equalize. Neil Critcherley, Gerrard and Mike Garrity hugged Li Qing hard, and the rest of the team followed one after another, reflecting a great team atmosphere. Adekanai, who has always been prejudiced against Li Qing, also had to admit Li Qing's excellence at this time, not to mention that he scored twice in this game, and the 11 goals he contributed in the first 4 games were achievements that he could not catch up with all season. Li Qing, who was surrounded by coaches and teammates, was very excited. He finally helped the team equalize through personal efforts, but he was not satisfied. With 45 minutes left in the second half, he hopes to single-handedly help the team beat Manchester City U18. This match is characterized as a strong dialogue, and there are certainly many scouts from various clubs who pay attention, perhaps Among the fans watching the game are scouts of the big clubs. As Li Qing guessed, there are indeed scouts among the fans on both sides, and they are also famous club scouts. Mendes, who watched the live broadcast of the game in his busy schedule, couldn't help but smile. The price of signing Li Qing before was a bit big, with the element of gambling, and now it seems that Li Qing does have that talent, according to performance, better than Messi, who shined in La Masia that year. Perhaps, Li Qing is really likely to grow into a superstar at the level of Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi. In this way, his investment will pay off greatly. The FA Youth Cup Stadium does not have spectator seats, and the fans present are standing around the stadium, and the players naturally do not have the so-called dressing room. The home team is an exception, of course. Liverpool U18 players led by Li Qing sat on the sidelines, allowing media reporters to constantly press the shutter button. The first half of the just ended was tired enough. Water consumption was serious, must seize the time to rest and replenish water, otherwise the second half of the game is worrying. The players who performed well in the first half were nothing more than two, one on one side, Sancho and Li Qing. Sancho passed the goal, Li Qing scored 2 yuan, and the reporters and self-media knew that no matter what the second half was, Sancho and Li Qing's excellent performance in the first half could make headlines. The sky gradually darkened, the high-power headlights on all sides of the stadium lit up, but did not let the falling temperature rise. The breeze blew. Tong Shinbing, who was standing on the sidelines, couldn't help but snort. The warm aroma in his mouth blew in his hands, and muttered in a low voice, "I already knew that I brought more down jackets out, and the old lady died cold." At this moment, a familiar figure appeared in front of her eyes. Looking up, it was Li Qing standing in front of her with a heavy down jacket, and her handsome face was full of sweat. "Cousin Tong, see, you are so cold, take it and wear it." Tong Shinbing is one of the few female fans at Manchester City College, and it is especially cold as soon as 6 p.m, even if she has worn a lot on her. Beautiful girls are especially pitiful, and Liverpool fans saw Li Qing draping Tong Shinbing in a down jacket, and they raised their palms one after another, applauding Li Qing's behavior. Tong Shinbing just wanted to say no. Li Qing had already shrugged his shoulders and retreated to the team, for which she could only helplessly put on Li Qing's thick down jacket. In addition to keeping the down jacket warm, she also smelled a vague masculine smell. Her eyes looked ahead. Li Qing listened intently to the coach. The focused expression, under the illumination of the light, seemed "It's even more handsome." 15 minutes of intermission quickly passed, and the players from both sides returned to the pitch one after another, perhaps because the respective coaches were very satisfied with the performance of the players on the field in the first half, and no one made the first substitution. Liverpool U18, who had the advantage of kick-off, did not rush to organize the attack, and after a multi-foot pass, the football came to the feet of Li Qing on the right side of the attack. The wonderful goal before the end of the first half is still vividly remembered, and Manchester City's U18 defenders dare not slacken. They are all holding their breath. Li Qing couldn't help but grin when he saw that the other party was solemn, and his raised right foot made a false impression of passing the ball to the forward coil, tricking Diaz into raising his foot to block the ball. I saw that he quickly put down his right foot, replaced his feet to support. The inside of the instep of his left foot jerked the football to the right front. His right foot quickly stepped on the football, pulled to the left, and the fullback Radibadier, who passively moved to the outside, had to stop in place, and followed Li Qing's dribbling change to recycle. Who knew that Li Qing pulled the ball halfway to the left and pulled it back, and then poked the ball forward on tiptoe, and the football passed through the crotch of Radibadier, who had just taken a step in, against the ground. Radibadier's pupils shrank, his legs closed quickly, was obviously too late. Li Qing started on the spot. The powerful explosive power was vividly reflected in this instant, and Diaz, who wanted to lift his foot to foul, did not even touch a single foot hair, and could only watch Li Qing chase towards the football. Originally, Li Qing just wanted to try the Manchester City U18 defensive level casually, but the result was much weaker than he thought. The first and second halves were indeed the easiest time to score. Li Qing completely started to speed, and it was too late to catch up. At this moment, he was completely like a wild horse out of control, slaughtering at full speed towards the empty space in front of him. It's so fast. Oh my god. This guy is racing in a Ferrari, right? Incredible speed. With the exclamations of the fans on the sidelines, the bald middle-aged man standing in the northeast corner said softly, "Overtake the score?" Facing the frontal defense of T. Wilson, Li Qing made a false impression of walking from right to left to the top of the arc of the penalty area during the high-speed dribbling process, tricking T. Wilson into closing in the middle, and as a result, the inside of the instep of his left foot slammed the ball straight into the penalty area. T. Wilson turned around, and apparently too late, and his partner E. Francis came out of the diagonal line, spotting the timing and slamming his right shoulder into Li Qing's left shoulder, which had just entered the box. Li Qing's strength was obviously insufficient, and their tonnage was not the same grade, and he was suddenly knocked to the ground, and his control over football naturally came to an abrupt end. Thinking that the attack was over, he suddenly heard a whistle, beep. His eyes lit up, and he saw the referee pointing his finger at the penalty spot. This penalty kick. Groove. Talent diving is prominent. Episode 48. Francis sought physical contact at the moment when Li Qing dunked the ball off his foot, which according to the relevant rules was a very wonderful frontal defense and a reasonable physical impact. But the referee's whistle sounded, which made him a little overwhelmed. Liverpool under-18 manager Neil Crushally saw the referee pointing to the penalty spot and excitedly high-fived Gerrard and Mike Goretti to celebrate. In stark contrast was Manchester City under-18 manager Lee Casley, who excitedly opened his hands and kept slapping his left hand on his right shoulder, as if to tell the referee that it was reasonable physical contact. However, the referee was very confident in his decision, and the Manchester City under-18s were unmoved by the appeal, insisting that Francis had committed a collision foul. Li Qing, who was the party concerned, stood aside, rubbing his left shoulder, which was still a little sore, with his right hand. Although Francis's collision just now is biased towards a reasonable collision, but this kind of physical contact referee blows there is nothing to say, who let him not touch the football. Of course, the reason why the referee was able to blow penalties was because he had a talent for diving. Manchester City U18 coach Lee Casley shook his head helplessly. Just now he saw it more clearly. The collision is more reasonable, but the referee is no problem with the penalty. Many times the penalty of football matches lies in the subjective judgment of the referee between the electric flint. The live broadcaster successively gave a slow-motion replay of the physical confrontation between Francis and Li Qing, and the TV commentators with broadcast qualifications were divided into three factions. One group believed that the collision was a reasonable collision, the other believed that the collision was foul, and the last group was neutral, believing that the judgment was up to the referee. All the dust settled, Manchester City under-18 players can only accept reality. Liverpool U18 top penalty taker Glenn McCauley is logically the first choice to take the penalty, but he saw that Li Qing had the football in his arms, and it was obvious that he wanted to take a penalty. Glenn McCauley, who has done nothing in this game, has been the team's top scorer so far, and if he does not perform, he has a strong premonition that he will return to the bench, so he is very desperate to score, even if it is only a penalty. However, at this moment, the head coach Neil Crushally blew the big self-made whistle, and he turned his head to clearly see that the head coach made a two-handed grip motion pointing at Li Qing. The meaning I want to express is very obvious, that is, this ball is led by Li Qing. Hey, Glenn McCauley sighed, as Li Qing's status in the team continued to decline as he excelled in the under-18s. However, considering that Li Qing has scored 11 goals in 4 league games and 2 goals in the half of the FA Youth Cup, no matter which manager will pin his hopes on the players with good feet. He stood outside the forbidden area and stared at Li Qing, with an immature thought in his heart. Is it really only 15 years old? Li Qing put the football on the penalty spot and then retreated to the line of the penalty area, ignoring the City fans who booed behind the net. That immature face was full of determination, waiting for the referee's whistle. Beep. The reason why he wants to take the penalty is not entirely for hat tricks, but more because the shooting and penalties 80+, combined with the extra 20% goal rate brought by the LV2 precision shot, almost means that the penalty here is completely equal to the goal. There won't be many chances to challenge Manchester City under-18s, and it is better to take on the responsibility yourself than to hand over to Glenn McCauley, who has been in poor form recently. Beep. The referee's whistle sounded, and Li Qing held his breath and began to run. At the same time, goalkeeper Embarks swayed his body up and down, left and right, hoping to use this exaggerated body movement to influence Li Qing's next penalty. He clearly remembers that the head coach said Li Qing's personal resume, a player born in February 2001, more than half a month before he turned 16, such a young player, can he have good psychological quality? He doesn't believe it. Li Qing stepped out with the last step, stood with his right foot about 20 centimeters on the right side of the football, tilted his body to the right, about 60 degrees from the ground, and then exaggerated his left foot. Embarks raised his eyebrows. He really couldn't see which angle Li Qing was going to kick the ball to. It wasn't until the moment Li Qing's left foot touched the football that his eyes suddenly lit up, and a long-lost victorious smile rose at the corner of his mouth. Even if you are calm, you can't enter the goal of my penalty expert. Bottom right. In fact, Li Qing's exaggerated left foot did not take a strong volley, nor did he kick into the bottom right corner of the goal as Embarks judged, but retracted 80% of his power at the moment he was about to touch the ball, and just rubbed the inside of his instep towards the bottom of the ball. Oops. Embarks has already pounced on the left side of his body, which is the bottom right corner of the goal, according to his own judgment. The football played by Li Qing flew weakly to the middle of the goal, which is logically easy to hold even by an amateur goalkeeper, but the problem is that Embarks made a move in advance in order to save a penalty, which is equivalent to saying that he can only watch the football slowly fall to the middle of the goal where he was standing. Li Qing, who scored his third goal of the game, was not as excited as the past 2 goals, but rather calm, with his arms open, waiting for his teammates to come forward to celebrate. The coaches and substitutes in front of the visiting coach hugged together and applauded Li Qing's wonderful spoon penalty. The appreciation in Gerrard's eyes is getting stronger and stronger. A player under the age of 16 actually used a very ornamental spoon penalty in the case of a draw, which the heart is not ordinarily large. Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp in front of the TV looked at Li Qing, who was given the broadcast picture, and muttered, "Just with your spoonful penalty, I have to put you in the first team." Of course, Klopp is not an impulsive person. Li Qing has proved that he is much stronger than most of the players in the U18 through this period of performance, and there is not much room for improvement to rise to the U23, only. First team, episode 49. Jurgen Klopp has decided to promote Li Qing to the first team, which means that there is no point in watching this game any longer, and he has a lot to do as manager to face Swansea at Anfield this weekend. Li Qing did not know that his performance had been recognized by Klopp, and he was still scrappy to help the team regain the score, thinking about helping the team to completely seal the victory. With more than 40 minutes left in the game, the opponent had plenty of time to equalize and even overcome. The bald middle-aged man standing in the northeast corner of the stadium is interested in the number 28 player of Liverpool's U18 youth team, and he is thinking, "Can you tell Bagairis to find a way to bring this super talent in front of you to Manchester City?" Judging from Li Qing's performance, he is very similar to Messi and La Masia, and even from the perspective of goal efficiency, he is stronger than Messi, who played for the second team of Barcelona that year. As long as this talent can be continued, not to mention surpassing Messi, at least it will not be much worse than Messi. No matter how much money is spent, it will pay off. What? At the same time, the few Liverpool fans let out a huge shout like a tsunami, cheering for Li Qing, who was performing demon. Manchester City's under-18 stars Sancho, Foden, Diaz, and Mbappé watched as Li Qing shook their heads as they scored a hat-trick. They really did not expect that the Liverpool U18, who were bloodied by them 4 months ago, would become so strong under Li Qing. The twin stars of Sancho and Foden looked at each other, and they could see their powerlessness in each other's eyes. They worked very hard from the beginning of the game, but Li Qing was perverted, and threw 3 chances to help Liverpool U18 lead twice in a row. Manchester City under-18 manager Lee Casley is very depressed. He has not once told his players to concentrate in the 4 time periods where it is easy to concede. Now it is good, the 4 easiest time periods to concede 2 goals. If the game could have been kept focused late in the first half and at the start of the second half, the score would have been likely to be 2-1 rather than 2-3. Liverpool under-18 manager Neil Crushally quickly recovered from his excitement and quickly called Captain Masterson over to arrange the next line of defense. Manchester City conceded 2 goals in a row at home, and they will definitely not give up. Beep. With the whistle of the referee on duty, the game resumed, and I don't know if it was affected by Li Qing's extremely excellent performance, and the Manchester City U18 players were no longer decisive in attack, and they seemed very hesitant. Manchester City under-18 manager Lee Casley looks at the eyes. His face is full of haze. In this situation, as a manager can do very limited things. Just now he has encouraged the players. Whether the players can come out depends on their self-psychological adjustment ability. Immediately, his eyes looked at Li Qing, who played the most eye-catching in Liverpool U18. It's not easy to score a hat-trick in a strong game, but every goal scored by the teenager in his eyes is amazing, especially the first goal and the third, as if the goal is completely aimed at the morale of the team. In stark contrast to Liverpool's under-18 players, all of them are scrappy and energetic, and many of the 5-on-5 goals are won by the momentum of the other. That's not a good thing. In the face of the players' declining form, Lee Casley can only make changes to the personnel on the field. Less than 10 minutes into the second half, Manchester City's under-18s made 2 positional changes in a row. Neil Crutchery looked back at the bench and fell into deep thought, but finally he shook his head and didn't adjust for the time being. According to the current state of the players on the field, there is no need to make adjustments. The players are in full momentum. The second half is only a few minutes away. The physical strength is still abundant, and the players replaced may not be able to compare with the players who are already on the court. Let's take another look. The minutes of the game passed by, and Jadon Sancho, who had helped City under-18 to achieve success, came alive again, putting constant pressure on Liverpool's under-18 defenders with dribbling and passing. Over time, Diaz and Foden's status was also reactivated. Manchester City's Academy 3 Sancho, Foden, and Diaz's return to form have improved significantly. In the 60th minute, Jadon Sancho's long-range shot from outside the box flew off the line on the right side of the post, which was a wake-up call for the Liverpool under-18 goal. Li Qing was still the most threatening player in Liverpool U18 during this time, and his breakthrough and transfer of the ball can cause panic in the Manchester City U18 defense, for which Manchester City U18 players also received 2 yellow cards. If you define this game in advance, it can be described as Li Qing played Manchester City U18 alone. The football came to Li Qing's feet again, and he constantly used the basic dialing, pulling, and dunking movements to dribble in the face of the grabbing of 2 defensive players, always maintaining control of the football, which shocked the fans watching the ball on the field. Ball control, it's also too good, right? However, Li Qing, who has not yet reached 80 in skill, dribbling and possession, is not delicate enough in the details, so he will be a little flustered when he encounters a third defender. But because Manchester City's U18 players are worried that the far defensive loophole will be exploited, they do not send too many defenders. However, individual efforts have never been comparable to the whole team. Manchester City under 18, as the only team in the entire English Youth League that has not tasted defeat, is much better than Liverpool under 18. Sancho uses excellent foot skills and speed to break through the bottom line to complete high-quality crosses. Substitute Hardy swept the ball into the net with a down-and-down shot from inside the box to help City equalize in the under-18s. The live broadcaster first turned the camera on Sancho, and then gave Li Qing, who helped Liverpool under 18 score a hat-trick. The former shouted excitedly, while the latter crossed his hands at the waist, and his immature face was covered with thick unwillingness. Episode 50. The format of the Youth FA Cup is basically the same as that of the FA Adult Cup. The FA Cup is a tiebreaker from the beginning to the final, and the final is played at the new Wembley Stadium. The FA Youth Cup is a tiebreaker from the first round to the one-quarter final. The venue is decided by lot, and the semi-finals and finals are calculated according to the home and away legs. Manchester City's 1/16 final at home to Liverpool under 18s is a tiebreaker, and if the match is drawn, the two sides will play a 30-minute extra time, and if the overtime cannot be divided, the game will go into a brutal penalty shootout. Of course, the 90 minutes of regular time is not over. The distance between overtime and penalty shootout is still far away. Li Qing, the youngest in this game, naturally clenched his fists, although his own defense is not strong. But he wants to help the team advance to the round of 16 with his own strength. Previously, Agent Mendes had communicated with first-team manager Jurgen Klopp, saying that Li Qing's current strength is several steps higher than that of U18 players, and there is little value in promoting to U23 training, hoping to enter the first team. If there is no place in the first team, then I hope the club will let Li Qing go to other teams to exercise. Jurgen Klopp has made it clear that he has decided to stay in the FA Youth Cup, and if he performs well, he can enter the first team and instead loan him to a team willing to offer a chance to play. 3 goals were arguably excellent, but Li Qing didn't want to experience the feeling of losing, so he decided to help his team score another overscore goal in a limited time to advance to the last 16 of the FA Youth Cup. Liverpool under 18 manager Neil Crutcherley made personnel changes before the game resumed, replacing Glenn McCauley with Brewster to increase the tacit understanding between the frontcourt players and Li Qing. The score was back in balance, but time was running out and both sides became cautious in attack, and threats like Manchester City's under 18s that had been trying to do some time ago were rarely passed, apparently fearing that high return and low success passes would be recognized by the opponent and thus play a high-quality counterattack. Of course, this is also related to the decline in the player's physical fitness. Once the football under the foot is broken, it is difficult to have physical strength to recover. Even if the recovery is timely, then what about the next time? Li Qing's physical fitness also declined, but the head coach did not assign him defensive tasks, so he was still able to sprint and run at great speed for more than 10 minutes into the game. Manchester City under 18 manager Lee Casley saw that Li Qing was still full of physical fitness and realized that the situation could be very bad, so he took advantage of a dead ball opportunity to pull Foden to explain. As a result, the FA Youth Cup 1/16 final entered the slowest pace since the start of the match. The game went into a slow pace, Liverpool's under 18 players got a rare respite, and the scene became glued, and no one could help anyone. 10 minutes passed quickly in the glued scene, the game came to 85 minutes, the 3 substitutions available to both sides had been used up, and the stalemate in the score could not arouse the players' determination to score, resulting in the score never being able to change. With less and less time playing, Li Qing found that Manchester City's under 18 defense was becoming more and more layered, especially his active attacking right wing. To face goalkeeper A. Muric, he had to pass 5 levels and cut 6 players, which is difficult to do with his current skills, dribbling and possession values, so he secretly bought 2 5-star technology cards in the system store and waited for the opportunity to use them again. Sancho, Diaz, and Foden, the 3-star players, have been affected by the decline in fitness and their offensive motivation has declined, but it does not mean that they do not want to attack, but they are accumulating physical energy and waiting for the opportunity to kill the game. Scoring a goal in this time period is tantamount to a lure. In the blink of an eye, 3 minutes later, Diaz's dribbling in front of the box was cut off by Harvey White, and Liverpool's under 18s were given a chance to switch from defense to attack. According to the arrangement of head coach Neil Crutcherley, football should go to Li Qing as soon as possible. Substitute Dillman pounced on Li Qing and fouled before he could catch the ball. The referee blew his whistle and signaled Dillman to foul. Li Qing's vision was wide, and seeing the slow replay of Manchester City's under 18 players, he suddenly realized that this might be a good counter-attacking opportunity. He quickly got up from the ground, stopped the football that he had fallen in his arms, and quickly kicked Brewster, who came on as a substitute. Brewster and Li Qing seemed to have a natural tacit understanding. He does not make any stops, and directly passes the football forward. Dillman, who had committed a foul, was still saying something to the referee, when he suddenly heard a roar behind him, "Defense." At the same time, Dillman felt a strong wind coming from his side, and turned to see that it is the most threatening Li Qing of Liverpool U18. Worst, almost all Manchester City under-18 players thought that Liverpool under-18s would slow to drive free kicks at the back, and the speed of running back was relatively slow, until Brewster kicked the ball to Li Qing and suddenly realized something. Li Qing swept forward quickly, and Radibadier, who had significantly lost his fitness, crashed into Li Qing from the side with a yellow card, but he obviously underestimated Li Qing's speed and overestimated his speed, and the two did not have any physical contact. To outsiders, Radibadier looks more like falling to the ground while running. Manchester City's under-18 centre-backs, T. Weilerson and E. Francis, quickly returned to the defence, keeping a distance from each other, and Giovanni reached for Brewster, who was trying to pick up. Li Qing, who dribbled the ball, could quickly distinguish the situation even without looking up. He quickly dribbled the ball across the halfway line and took the initiative to take the ball to T. Weilerson and E. Francis. Manchester City under-18 backcourt 3 defense, manager Lee Casley instantly felt a sense of irritation. He rushed to the sidelines when everyone was focused on the pitch, and roared, "Foul."